something. We don't like to be chained to monthly obligations. We don't like to be chained to a debt. We don't. So what ends up happening is we get into more debt to free us from debt because we think it's going to do something for us, or we essentially end up losing what we have because we just ain't gonna keep paying on it. Something happens, it's like, hey, missed it this month. Because by nature, let's fix and let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Do the wealthiest people in the world pay mortgages and pay car notes?
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. The wealthiest people in the world do not pay car notes or mortgages.
When you say wealthiest, who are you basically talking about?
Anybody make a whole lot more money than us.
Well, why do some of the athletes and entertainers are still going into bankruptcy? Because they're not paying their mortgages and they're not paying their car notes.
Because the man that's paying him his check is wealthy. The athlete is rich.
Right.
The man who's paying him his check is wealth is defined by financial independence,
right,
not being dependent on anyone else.
But even wealthy people get loans.
Wealthy people do business.
They get business loans.
Right. That's different.
They keep their money.
Right.
They keep their money.
Right. You can go ahead and take the business.
They keep their money.
Take the business.
They get loans.
Take the business. Matter of fact, they'll pay them an income from the loans.
Right.
They'll pay themselves an income.
Exactly.
But if the business go bad and the loans go bad, guess what the creditors can't do?
They can't touch their personal
They can't
assets.
touch their personal assets.
Right. But
Car notes and mortgages, not business loans.
okay, I got you.
Wealthy people don't engage in car notes and mortgages. And the reason why, for a long period of time, if you're not wealthy, but if you're wealthy, you don't do it at all. The reason why is when you look at the trade value of that dollar and you look at the impact of compound interest, you're losing so much value from that dollar that you cannot recoup it ever. And Einstein is the one that figured it out. Rule of 72 work for you, against you. So what happens if you have 8% interest, 9% interest, 10% interest, or this or that, whatever, as that stuff accumulates, it depreciates the value of the work that you're doing and the dollar that you have. So what ends up happening then is your negotiating position reduces, because when you do go get a business loan or you have an emergency, the first thing they ask you is, what are your other obligations? I got a mortgage and I got a car. They go, okay, well, there's nothing else you can do. So economic sovereignty, first of all, is being able to engage in getting rid of indebtedness, but still own whatever the resource is that we need. Food, clothing, and shelter, but not going into debt to have that food, clothing, and shelter. Once we do that individually and as groups, now all of a sudden, it changes our negotiating position. It also changes what we can do. Somebody treats you like a nigga on the job, and you know you don't need that job to keep a roof over your head. What you gonna do?
Roland.
You out. So now all of a sudden we're dying of coronaries a whole lot less because we're gonna sit there and take that. Now you talk about two incomes. Oh my goodness gracious. Within 10 years, two income couple within 10 years should be in a position where they don't have to work for anybody else the rest of their lives. 15, 20 at the most. Easy.
Yeah.
Now they can still work and make an income, but they don't have to work for anybody else. Now you have a little more sovereignty. Now as a people, part of the sovereignty is this. We have to, and this last note for me, we have to create articulation agreements with everybody that we spend money with that they're going to reinvest back in our community. And if they don't sign off and maintain that articulation agreements, then we don't do business with them. It's not an option. We're not asking. We're just telling them.
Right.
You're going to sign off on an articulation agreement. And we know we're not going to get reparations, but we're still going to ask for it. But what we need is for the Walmarts, for the Sam Clubs, for the Pohankas, and for these other folks that we spend a lot of money with to put money back into our community so we can create apprenticeship programs that allow us to train and be trained to become more adept at whatever it is that we need to do. So let's say, for example, brother, you're interested in, you say, hey, you know what? I want to be a bar. I want to have my barber's license so that I can always feed myself even if I don't have a job. Or you say you want to learn law or accounting or whatever. Well, imagine now we go to someone else and we pay them for you to be an apprentice to them. And we use Walmart's money to do it. Once we're able to put articulation agreements like that in place, the ones who don't want to do it, we don't do business with. In the store. So let's call it what I was explaining to him in terms of the last part of the economic sovereignty we end on this note is this. The ideal relationship to enter as a consumer with the rest of society so that Black Lives Matter a little bit more is to create articulation agreements with every corporation and every business that we do business with, that they reinvest back in our communities. And one direct way that they should, or we need them to invest, is for them to put money into our communities so that we have the ability to create apprenticeship relationships with different disciplines and industries. So for example, if he wants to be a teacher, then I need a fund out there that pays you to teach him to become a teacher, starting now. If this person wants to be a plumber, if I, as an adult, want to start getting trained in computer science so I have me another career, then instead of me paying a college to teach me this, now I can pay an individual, or the fund pays the individual, and I become an apprentice to that individual, and they begin teaching me the elements of that. So even if I do go back to school to get the degree or whatever, I'm not far ahead of the game. But in addition to that, people who are displaced workers, people who have retired but looking for that next career, divorces, all kinds of things create a need, what do you call it, transitioning, moving from one place to another. You know, so it's a different world in Montana than it is in Maryland. So you may now have to learn agriculture in a way you didn't before. Well, now we can pay someone to train you on aspects of agriculture. Those kind of articulation agreements that allow us to empower our folks. And if Walmart doesn't sign off on that and put real money behind that, then we stop doing business with Walmart. Period. Now, how that happens, it begins with thought, it begins with the conversation, and then we post that stuff, we talk to folks and say, look, how do we construct this? And then somebody's got to have the courage to say, here's the fund. So I'm that guy that's got to go and I got to research how to create that foundation of that fund. And then I'm the one that's got to go and start seeding that kind of thing. And then making it work one time and then making it work for the next. And then eventually, like everything else, anything else, it gets to a point where there's a critical mass that gets it. And then we start moving in that direction. Does that make any sense to you? So economic sovereignty and fair trade. If we don't participate in fair trade with Walmart, we don't need to deal with Walmart. Period. Stop going to them. Stop going to them. Sure, I might prefer something that they sell. Oh, let me end on this note. Would you believe that there are folks in the Asian culture who will not spend a dime with you? Period.
Oh.
Okay. So understand this. The man told me this. He said, I don't care. A brother comes in to sell him some hair. So, distributor. The hair was better, and he was able to supply it cheaper. Asian guy says, I'm not buying it. He said, well, how much you paying for this? He said, X number of dollars. He said, well, I can get it for 30% less. He said, I don't care. He said, well, what grade is this? This grade? He said, well, this is this grade. He said, I don't care. He said, well, wait a minute. If you can get it cheaper and it's better quality, why wouldn't you buy it? He looked at him and said, I neither care about the cost nor the quality. I'm not buying it from you. By the way, does your family need any lotion? This is $6.99. Great lotion. Now, me, I get excited about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, me too.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
I
sir.
know people get upset. I know people like, well, that ain't fair to me. I'm like, dude, that's the way it's supposed to
That's
be.
right. Supposed to be that way.
Commerce and capitalism, that's how it's supposed to function. I don't care about the quality. I really don't care about the quality of the food here at Everlasting Life. I mean, I don't want to get sick, but heck, I've gotten sick at other restaurants, major chains eating their
Right.
food. But I don't care about the quality of the food here. I don't even worry about that. I'm not buying from here because of the quality of the food. I'm not buying here because of the cost of it. I'm gonna spend what it is that I got. If some costs 20 and I can't and I ain't got 20, I got 6. Hey man, give me 6 worth of this. It'd be like Chris Rock and and I'm gonna get you sucker. Man, how about one rib? You know what I'm saying? So my point is, I'm just gonna spend my money with this brother.
Right.
Committed to it.
Now, the somebody else might put a vegan store next door that don't look like him and does a marvelous job. People, hey man, you got to go there. No, I'm not going. Period. And then if I have an issue with the quality, I'm gonna pull a brother aside or come in and see him or leave him a note and say, hey man, would you consider doing this? And at some point, any reasonable person who's going to stay in business is going to make some adjustments if enough people are saying something about it.
Right.
They'll meet that demand in order to stay in business. If he meets the demand, he says, but I gotta raise the price because if I'm gonna get that quality, then I need to get it from a different supplier. Slim, raise the price. I'm still gonna buy the same dollar amount, it's just a smaller quantity.
Right.
Dude, I'm gonna buy from you because it's you.
Mm-hmm. That's how I am. She'll tell you. Because as we're looking for, we're planning our wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, straight off the break, I'm only dealing with black owned business with this thing. And, I mean, I've even gotten some resistance from my own parents when I've told them that. Because the first thing they say is, you don't want to limit your options when you're just dealing with black owned caterers or black owned, black photographers. But we're committed to this thing.
I'm like this. If you come out one camera and you only get a shot of me and them standing there, Slim, I'm paying you to come out there and get that picture of me standing. What
Yes,
about?
sir.
Look, I'm telling you, if I need to hire 3 or 4 more black camera people and one of them take a different look, if you do not want to keep getting gunned down in the street, freedom is not free. You got to give up something, and it's going to hurt. I'd rather hurt paying a brother or sister coming and giving me less than what I think I should be getting for that dollar than giving the dollar to someone else who's not going to return that dollar to me. Now, the white folks and the Asians and all them who reinvest back in me and my family, I'm gonna continue to do business with them.
Yeah.
But the ones who don't, I'm not. It's a done deal.
Right.
So I've learned to live within the limitations of where black folks are. Because let's face it, man, if you're black and you're in business, you got all kinds of stuff going against you from the jump. Suppliers are going to charge you more. Remember what I told you? I own a convenience store. And Cass was like, man, we're going to deliver this beer down because because the holiday is coming up and the beer don't show up.
They charge us more interest on the business.
And then everybody had to go to the Arab store and they had the beer that they couldn't get from me. I'm like, well, how did the Arab store get it? Oh, they dropped it off yesterday. Well, why didn't you drop it off to me? Oh, man, we ran out. They made sure I didn't have that beer. And you're like, well, you're making money off of me. Why wouldn't you bring the beer to me that the people are looking for the holidays when you're making money off me? And you know what they're saying to me basically? Slim, we'd rather you not be in business than to make money off you. Because once you're gone, all that's going to happen is that Arab store is going to buy twice as much because you ain't there. But to not have to deal with you, I'd rather not sell to you. There are people who would rather not make money off of us than to see us in business. So when we realize the depth at which the fear and the menace is towards us, and we accept what that is, now we can sit down and we can change the system. Look, tell you what, not that kind of party. Now, brother tells me last week, he says he met a young lady from Austria and he met a young lady from Sweden. Both of them met him downtown D.C. Real cool. Both of them engaged. Both of them marrying black men. So I said, what's up, man? He said, they had preconceived notions of what we are. Monkeys, lazy, trifling, blah, blah, blah. But when they went to the store with these brothers and saw how they were treated at the store, they said, oh, wait a minute. No wonder you act like you do. If I had to deal with that every day, somebody following me around and went to the bank, man, what? This is how you get treated? Watch them get turned out for loans knowing that they, what? Watch what happens when the police pull them over and it's with a white woman, so you really know that sometimes the cats was really posted. And she watched this, and instead of being angry at him, like I see with a lot of my sisters, like, you didn't handle that right, she was like, you know what? You don't deserve that. I don't expect you to be able to handle this right, because that is psychologically damaging to you. And then they realized that what they saw on television and the perception that they had and the lack of intelligence and the stepping festival, that's not who we really were. And they wanted to marry us. So at the same time the sisters were running away from us, they were running to us. And we didn't change a thing. And the reason why that's happening is because our sisters are being trained and taught to hedge against us from the time they're like 3 freaking years old. A man is going to let you down, so make sure you're independent, don't need no man. As soon as they hear them words, and tell me, sister, if somebody didn't tell you that. Did somebody not tell you
They
that?
told me to be independent, but they didn't say a man was going to let me down.
But they told you to be independent. Independent from what? Independent from a job?
Just make sure I can take care of myself.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Independent from what? A job? Independent from school?
No, just
Independent from what? No, I'm not.
No one said a man. They just said make sure that I can take care of myself.
Instead of who being able to take care of you.
Your man.
You get my point? Now,
I get your
I
point,
know
but
where you
I-
don't. I know I'm not asking, and it's unfair for me to ask you to put those words into that person's mouth. What I'm saying to you is that that's what they were saying to you. Strong black independent woman means strong black where she's born and independent from a man. She's being taught that from birth. Now what happens to a black boy is the doctor comes in and there's 2 babies being born right next to each other. One is from a white person, one is from a black person. A white baby is born, doctor pulls it out, it's a boy. Looks at the child, turns to the father, says, sir, you have a son. And hands the son to the father, who then walks over and shares the son with the mother. Black woman has a child, same doctor pulls it out, sees it as a black boy, turns to the black father, leans over, hands the son to the mother, and says, ma'am, you have a son. When that white boy is born, he hands him to his father. When that black boy is born, he hands him to his mother. And more often than not, the person that teaches that black boy to pee is the one person who don't pee standing up. Watch it. And then what's worse is that that doctor that handed it to him is a black doctor. And when you break that down, what happens is your man is marginalized, castrated. And then you have a son, and you're like, my son's not going to be marginalized and castrated. I'm going to make sure he has everything he needs. So then you spoil the hell out of him, and he ain't worth nothing. And then he wants to stay on your couch till he's 57. And then the next woman that gets him comes back to you later and say, your son ain't worth a damn. And then the cycle has repeated itself because you know spent all your time trying to empower a man when the person who should be empowering a man is a man. And it's not because of this. The fact of the matter is that this is already done before my son is born. This was already constructed before he was born. And it was a Caucasian male who worked for the city of Syracuse who told me to my face, this is going to happen to your family before I even had a family. He said, because we're going to orchestrate it. He said, the first thing is you're going to send your child to a school where we're most of the teachers. Because we have the better schools. We make sure we dilapidate your schools so you don't want to send them to them. He said, so now you're going to give us your child to educate for 12 years. Guess how we're going to teach your child to think? The man told me this to my face. He said, and then what we're going to do is make sure that your mate is professionally advanceable. We're going to make sure she gets every opportunity to rise to the highest ranks. And we're going to make sure that wherever you go, that we denigrate you and make sure you don't rise far at all. And at some point, she's going to look at you and realize you ain't keeping up. She's going to make double the money that you make for the rest of your life. We're going to see to it. When you buy a house, your house is going to appear in the real estate pages. We watch the real estate pages every day. Once we see you buy a house, we're going to go to your employer and we're going to say, got him. And then your employer is going to turn you into a slave. And if you don't bow down, you risk losing that mortgage, that house, and that mate. Because you lose that house, she gone too. So you're going to do what we tell you. Man told me this to my face. You're going to do what we tell you to do. So I remember there was a sister that I was working with, and she was single, no children. And I was explaining this to her. She was like, Roland, get out of here. She was working for somebody else. I'm telling you, you can rent by a house, right? I said, yeah. I said, your boss is going to know you bought that house, and your boss is going to start treating you differently right then and there. She said, she called me up and couldn't breathe. I said, what's wrong, sweetheart? What's wrong? She said, you won't believe what happened. I said, oh, your boss came to you? She said, no. The blonde-haired blue girl in the cubicle next to me cut my house out of the newspaper with my name on it and put it on my desk and said, congratulations. She said the freaking label was watching her buy her house. She said, Roland, I didn't even get up to the people up top. She said the people below me were tracking my activities. Yeah. The girl in the cubicle next to her, one grade down, left it on. So when she came to work, the picture of her house and her name was sitting with a note that said, congratulations. Uh-huh. And she said, I knew right then and there I had to get out of there. I said, yeah, because the water cooler, you see her buy that, who she thinks she is, bought that house. Yeah. And she ain't. And she said, from that moment on, she caught nothing but hell. Now, you would be surprised. We're surprised that this is how this works. There's a system that's in place, and people volunteer for that system. Sometimes they don't even know it. A lot of Caucasian Americans are not aware that this is what they're doing. They're really not aware of it. They're just doing what automatically comes to them because they've watched other people, so they do it. Some of them are not even thinking about how harmful it is. That no. Many of them have been trained to watch us, and those of us, like the brother said, those of us who show the propensity to be intelligent, educated, athletic or not, they start sectioning us off right off the break. So now, in order for us to modify how that relationship happens, we now have to pull our children and pull ourselves from under as much of that authorship as we possibly can. The way to do that is become financially independent enough to walk away from that. Now you come back and you turn them into customers. And you sell to them. And you turn them into employees. And now all of a sudden, it's a little different kind of situation. Appreciate it. Any other thoughts, comments, or inventory before we leave for tonight? I got some text messages, but I'm sorry, everyone. We got rolling. All set?
Yeah.
All right, folks. Rolling Bubba Grimes, Rolling Grimes, not just sports and entertainment show. Once again, signing off. We have some information to share with folks about legislation, economic sovereignty as we move forward. And the whole thing is designed, I know how it sounds and I really don't care, but the whole thing is designed basically to change the relationship that African Americans have with the rest of society so that there's more parity, there's more equality. And some of that is going to have to be granted, a lot of it is going to have to be taken. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with taking that which you deserve to have. Rolling Bubba Grimes, signing off. Have a good night.